Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to our Learn to Lead series. We are now doing Chapter 1, Part 2. This is the second half of the first chapter. In this here book, it is quite wonderful and it should be very fun. I'm sorry for the clanging on my desk. Okay, so this one is going to be discussing primarily customs and courtesies and wearing the uniform in addition to cadet grade. Alright, so let's do this. Okay, so there are a bunch of different things you'll see on the screen. There's saluting, coming to attention, position of honor, manners of address, reporting, and introducing people. These are all different things that I'm going to cover, don't worry. And so we're going to start off with saluting. And this was originally a tradition between different knights within the medieval times where they, jousting matches, and they would have like the giant stick thing and they would like go and attack people, or they would have like their swords and they would do that. Well, before the fight, the knight would lift his visor with his right hand and show his face as a sign of respect, and it was very cool because then it was kind of like mutual trust between them and that respect between the two knights before they fought, which super cool. So that's the origin of it, and since you would carry your sword with your right hand, typically it was used with the right hand, showing that trust. Nowadays, we just do it with our hand, a nice flat hand, and then doing like the 90 degrees thing. As you can see in the picture right here, you keep your arm parallel to the ground. You have your hand on the tip of your eyebrow or the brim of your cover, depending on if you're outside or not, or the tip of your glasses, if you wear glasses. Lots of very cool things with that. I'm not going to go into too much detail because you should get an explanation of how to salute in person, but that's essentially the overall thing. Briefly going over why customs and courtesies are important. It's little signs and expressions of politeness and mutual respect. So, if someone has been in the military, like let's say they've been in the army for 20 years, and they're like lieutenant colonel, you want to show that you respect them, and yeah, they have a lot of experience, and it's also kind of like a greeting. So it's like, good afternoon, or good morning, sir, while you're doing that salute, which is really awesome. In terms of showing customs and courtesies, it doesn't mean people are inferior or superior to one another. No, it's just kind of like showing that you understand that they have experience and you're recognizing that, and you are also being respectful, which is really awesome. And then they'll be respectful to you as well. So, yeah, there's no superiority, inferiority, or civility with any of that. The reason why we do it, in addition to that, is that it instills kind of like self-discipline. So, anytime you do see a senior member officer, a military officer, then senior member officer, then cadet officer, if they're higher ranking than you, then you're going to salute them first, and they'll return your salute or kind of give you a verbal greeting like, oh, thank you, or as you were, something like that. Yeah, so I think that covers everything with the salute. I'm going to check. Yes, for the most part. No saluting when you're in formation. If you're commanding the formation, yes, you salute, but people who are in a formation do not salute. When in doubt, you should salute. Sometimes I'm doing different activities that might be in like the DC area, and there are military officers from different countries, and so it's always good to just kind of salute them to show a sign of respect, and they'll be like, oh, thank you, or something like that. So that's just something to know. Let's see, coming to attention. We don't always do this, but typically when you're talking to a officer of any kind, either cadet, senior member, or military officer, you normally want to be standing at attention. Just kind of come to attention when you're talking to them. I try to do that as much as I can. I forget too, so if you forget, it's okay. Just, it's something to keep in mind. Let's see. And that brings me into calling the room to attention. If someone walks into a room and outranks everyone else in the room, the The first person who notices should call the room to attention. It doesn't matter who they are. Just call the room to attention. Right, so you're like, room, attention. For everyone to hear. That's not the inflection that you use, but I'm just saying in this quick example. Right, so if the squadron commander comes in, even though there might be like a colonel and your squadron commander is like a major, you would still call the room to attention for your squadron commander because he is higher rank. So some people don't understand that there is a difference between grade and rank. So grade is like I'm a cadet lieutenant colonel, right? And there's airman through colonel, cadet airman through colonel, for the cadets. So those are the different grades. Rank is like the position that you have. So, like when I was at encampment, there were a few spots cadets who I was commander for. They would be saluting me because I am higher rank than they are. And rank takes precedence over grade. Does that make sense? If you don't understand, you can let me know. Got it? Yeah? Okay. So there is a difference between the two of those. And it's important to understand those. Okay, so there is also this thing called position of honor. I make a huge deal about it because I remember when I first read this in the book and I was like, oh, the position of honor is the person on the right. It's really weird. But essentially what it is, if you are walking down the street and there are 4 people, then you're going to want the person who is the most senior and highest ranking to be on the right, and then the junior most to be on the very left. So, it's just, the reason why is also because it's still like the sword was carried on the right, and so it's also showing like that sign of respect and trust, again, with the medieval times thing. So, that's the way that it goes. In terms of manner of address, you can address people in multiple different ways. If they are from an airman to a senior airman, you can call them cadet airman, you can call them senior airman, airman first class, depending on who they are. Airman works too. If they are an NCO, you can call them staff sergeant, cadet staff sergeant, sergeant, and that's about the same until you get to chief, and chief, you can call them chief, or chief master sergeant, cadet chief master sergeant, stuff like that. When you get to the officer ranks for cadets, you can call them cadet second lieutenant, you can call them lieutenant, you can call them sir, ma'am, depending on how you should address them properly. When it comes to senior members, same thing, or military officers, sir, ma'am is a good way to go, especially with senior members, because that is showing a huge amount of respect to them. Alrighty then, moving on to the next thing, we have reporting. So, in the book, if you have the book, there's a nice little diagram thing. I think it's also in like the little drill guide thing. It's a good reference tool. I'm not going to be going over the entire process, but this is it. Essentially, you walk up to the door, you go, knock, knock, and then they'll be like, enter, and then you'll walk 2 paces away from their desk, they'll report, and you'll say, like, ma'am, sir, cadet so-and-so reports as ordered. It's just like the way the Air Force reports in, so they also have examples of this when doing training, and then the senior officer that you're reporting to, will explain to you, oh, like, at ease, or please sit down, if it's like an interview or something like that, and then, if they forget to say that they're all done, you can say, sir, ma'am, is there anything else? Or will that be all? You can do will that be all? And then they'll say, like, thank you, you are dismissed. And then you will salute, and you'll be like, good afternoon, or good morning. It would be like the greeting of the day to kind of wish them well after your meeting. And then you take a step back, about face, and go out the most direct way through the door. Introducing people. There are lots of new people coming into different squadrons. It's really, really exciting when you get new members. Just make sure that you're introducing people and say, Major Jones, this is Cadet Airman Smith. Cadet Airman Smith, this is Major Jones. Major Jones is our squadron commander. I just keep these things in mind, because if people aren't being introduced, then sometimes it can be a little awkward and uncomfortable, and you want to make sure that everyone feels welcome. So if you're getting to know new people and showing your passion and excitement, then they're going to become passionate and excited about it as well. So that's also something to keep in mind. Oh, wow, there is something going on with this picture. Yoo-hoo! Something happened. Okay, well, that's weird. Okay, well, we're going with this. Okay, so as you can see in this picture, they are wearing a blues uniform. There are multiple different uniforms within Civil Air Patrol and the Air Force. Civil Air Patrol is still using BDUs, but they're currently phasing out into ABUs, and that's by like year 2020, I think. So most people are getting the ABUs right now with dark blue tapes. What is it? The light blue, not light blue, but like the really nice, pretty blue, like this blue. This blue name tape is also not really being sold. Oh, that's my mouse. Not really being sold anymore on Vanguard, so you have to get the name tapes that are like navy colored, and you can wear those on BDUs and ABUs, but you can't wear the royal blue colored ones on the ABUs. Anyway, so you want to wear your uniform with pride. Like, if you shine your shoes and you're taking pride in your uniform, that's great. Awesome. Keep that up. It looks really great and it looks really professional. And also, like, men and women have died and they wore that uniform. So you kind of want to represent it because we have special permission to wear the uniform from the Air Force. So just keep this in mind while you're wearing your uniform. A lot of people, they're like, oh, I want to red and blue. It's like, no. One, that may not be safe, and two, you really shouldn't be doing it in blues because it doesn't look professional. You normally shouldn't really need to run during cap stuff anyway, but that's another thing later on. In addition to those, there's also the PTUs. You don't actually have an assigned uniform. Squadrons typically like to have like the Air Force style with the gray shirt and then the dark blue or black shorts and white socks. It depends on the squadron. They aren't supposed to technically require it, but sometimes they're like, hey, could you wear this? It's preferred that you wear this. Some squadrons are like, wear athletic clothing. And then it's like, yes, living healthy lifestyle. Woo! Great. Yeah, there's not a whole lot with that. If you don't understand how to wear a uniform or place insignia or anything like that, go ahead and ask your element leader or a mentor within the program. Just discuss it with them because they'll probably know and they've probably done it. Like, I can tell you how to do it, but that's not what this video is about, so not today. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to cover today is 1, image, and 2, cadet grade insignia. One last thing with uniforms. You represent an organization you are part of if you're wearing the uniform. So one person's conduct reflects on everyone else. So if there's one person who is goofing off at an air show, and then another 10 people over here who are not, someone from the outside is more likely to remember this one person who goofed off versus the 10 people who did a great job. So just something to keep in mind. In terms of cadet grade insignia, the NCO ranks are exactly the same as the Air Force's enlisted ranks. So it goes Cadet Airman First Class, Cadet Senior Airman, Staff Sergeant, Tech Sergeant, Master Sergeant, Senior Master Sergeant, Chief Master Sergeant. Now you can promote through those a little faster than in the Air Force, but they're the exact same in terms of number of chevrons and what's the other one? Chevrons and man, okay, 1 second. Chevrons and rockers. Holy smokes, that was difficult. Okay, so they have the exact same number of chevrons and rockers for the different ranks. So 1 through 3 are the airman ranks, and then 4 and 5 are NCO, and then 6 through 8 are senior NCO. Alright, so if you want to be a first sergeant, you're going to want to be a senior NCO, because that means you have enough experience and book knowledge to be able to match the requirements that are necessary to be a first sergeant. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. It's not too difficult to memorize. Just I like to think of it as, if you look at the staff sergeant, it almost completely aligns with the top and the bottom of the kind of like the propeller symbol. So I think of that as like the first sergeant rank. And when I was younger, I would remember airman first class, and then senior airman as like the first class is just the one step up from the airman, and then senior airman is the next level. So it's not too challenging. It's not too challenging. And chief, you want to remember, is 3 chevrons on the top, and then the 5 rockers. So not too bad. The cadet officer grades, they're not too bad either. You go 1, 2, and 3, and then 1, 2, and 3. So second lieutenant is 1 pip. 2 is first lieutenant, so it's swapped versus having 1 be first lieutenant and 2 be second, because second comes before first in the progression of grade, but as you get higher, that makes sense. It's mirroring the names of like the Air Force, the Army, and the Marine Corps, but it's not the same looking thing. The senior members copy it almost exactly, but so the circles and then the diamonds. So that's like phase 3 and phase 4. So and then it goes 1 diamond for major, 2 for cadet lieutenant colonel, and 3 diamonds for cadet colonel with the spots. All right. So that summarizes our entire discussion, or that concludes our entire discussion. We discussed customs and courtesies, making sure you're saluting, addressing other people, wearing your uniform properly, and the different grade insignia. If you are interested, please write down a comment down below on anything that you would like to know more about. I know a lot of different things about CAP and a few other things out there. So if you have any questions about anything for me, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And I will probably put 1 or 2 discussion questions down below to go over what happens in the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for the support. I really, really appreciate it. And that is all, folks. Until next time, toodles.